Before kings ruled the skies, before wisdom wore a crown, there was only the roar of war. It was not born from hatred, nor from order, but from the pulse that beats in every living thing, the need to fight, to struggle, to endure. From that primal breath came two gods, forged in different worlds but bound by the same sound, the thunder of battle. One rose from the blood-soaked earth of Greece, where the clash of bronze and the cries of soldiers filled the air. The other came from the frozen storms of the north, where the sky cracked with lightning and the heart of man burned against the cold. Two faiths, two visions of power, yet both found their reflection in the chaos of war. Ares, son of Zeus and Hera, was not born to rule, but to rage. He is the god of blood, the embodiment of fury, the scream before the blade strikes. His fire knows no mercy. His joy is the clash itself, the breaking of shields, the music of steel. To Ares, war is not a curse. It is purity. It is life stripped of pretense, where every lie burns away and only strength remains. Thor, son of Odin, the thunderer of Asgard, is his opposite and his equal. He fights not to destroy, but to defend. His power is not chaos, but protection. When Thor raises his hammer, the heavens tremble, yet behind his might lies purpose. Where Ares finds ecstasy in violence, Thor finds duty in battle. He does not revel in the storm. He becomes it. And so, two gods stand at the edges of eternity, one with a hammer of thunder, the other with a spear of flame. Both born of war, both shaped by it. But only one will stand as the true spirit of battle itself. In the ancient songs, war was never just blood and death. It was a mirror. It showed the heart of man, his fear, his courage, his need for control. Ares represents the war within, the fire that consumes reason. Thor represents the war beyond, the storm that protects meaning. One destroys to prove his power. The other fights to preserve what deserves to live. When men marched to war, they prayed to both. To Ares for victory. To Thor for honor. To one for rage. To the other for purpose. And perhaps that is why the gods still exist, because war itself never ended. It only changed its face. Imagine them now, meeting beyond the veil of myth. The sound of thunder echoes through the void. Sparks fly across the battlefield of eternity. Ares steps forward, eyes burning with red fury, the ground cracking beneath his feet. His armor drips with the memory of every war ever fought. His voice is the shout of 10,000 soldiers, defiant, wild, unbroken. Across from him, Thor stands silent. His grip tightens around Mjolnir, the hammer that once crushed giants and saved worlds. Lightning coils around his shoulders like living serpents. His eyes are calm, blue as the storm's heart, eyes that have seen the cost of every battle and still choose to fight. They do not speak. They do not need to. The sky darkens, and the wind begins to move. Between them, the air is heavy, not with anger, but with understanding. Each knows the other. Each knows that they are the same truth, told in different tongues. Ares, the chaos of man. Thor, the order of gods. Blood and thunder. The storm grows. The ground trembles. And in that charged silence before the first strike, the narrator's voice cuts through. Two gods born of the same war, one to destroy, one to defend. When the fury of Ares meets the storm of Thor, the world will remember what it means to fight. Not for glory, not for victory, but for the soul itself. The clouds split. The thunder roars. The first drop of divine blood falls. And war begins again. From the scorched soil of Greece rose a god born not of peace, nor wisdom, nor reason, but of the pure fire that burns in the heart of every battle. His name was Ares, son of Zeus and Hera, the storm made flesh, the scream given form. While his divine kin ruled the skies, the seas, and the dead, Ares ruled only one thing, the chaos between them. To the Greeks, Ares was both feared and necessary, the embodiment of war's most brutal truth. He was the cry that comes before the strike, the madness that overtakes reason when the first blade draws blood. The poets called him destructive, insatiable, relentless. Yet behind that fury was something far deeper: honesty. Ares never pretended that war was noble. He never dressed it in glory. To him, war was the truest language of existence, where all masks fell away, and only strength remained. His presence was a storm of bronze and flame. When Ares entered the battlefield, the wind thickened with heat. Spears rattled against shields as if trembling in recognition. His armor shone like molten metal, forged not for protection, but for intimidation. His spear, the extension of his will, pierced not only flesh, but courage itself. Those who fought beside him felt the intoxicating pull of rage. Those who faced him felt the weight of despair. He was not a strategist, nor a leader. That was Athena's realm, the goddess of tactical war and wisdom. Ares was the raw pulse, the wild current that made men forget fear. His was the sound of chaos unbound. When he fought, there was no plan, no order, no mercy. Only motion. Only impact. Only the thrill of survival. The gods of Olympus themselves distrusted him. Even Zeus, his father, kept Ares at a distance. To the divine court, Ares was a reminder that power could lose control, that even immortals could bleed through fury. The mortals feared him for the same reason they prayed to him. For in every soldier's heart there lives a shadow of Ares, the whisper that says, "You are more than flesh. You are fire. You are the will to strike back." Yet Ares was not only violence. In his chaos, there was also creation. Each war he touched reshaped the world, burning away the weak, leaving behind only what could endure. His destruction was a kind of rebirth. The Greeks understood that paradox well, that through the god of blood came the balance of renewal. In ancient hymns, he is called the breaker of walls, the shaker of men, the one who brings victory to those unafraid to face him. His domain was not the throne room or the temple. It was the field, the mud, the smoke, the sound of collapsing breath. The scent of iron was his incense. The cry of the dying, his hymn. But even gods bleed. Ares knew this better than most. Time after time, he was wounded by mortals, by cunning, by courage, by the very humanity he tried to suppress. In one tale, the warrior Diomedes struck him down with Athena's guidance, and Ares roared in pain so loud that Olympus trembled. The god of war, defeated by the hand of man. And still, he rose again. For Ares could not die, not while men still fought, still envied, still burned with anger. That is his curse, and his truth. As long as there is conflict, Ares will breathe. He does not need temples. Every battlefield is his altar. Every soldier's heartbeat is his prayer. Yet within him lies a strange loneliness. The Greeks never adored him as they did Apollo or Athena. Ares was not the god of triumph, but of struggle itself. He represented the part of the soul that never finds rest, the desire to fight even when there's nothing left to win. He is not victory. He is the reason victory means anything. In him lives the paradox of humanity, that we destroy to feel alive, that we fight to remember we exist. Ares does not judge that truth. He simply embodies it. His rage is not evil. It is the mirror of human passion, dangerous, beautiful, unstoppable. When he walks, the ground splits. When he breathes, the air trembles. His eyes burn not with malice, but with purpose, the eternal hunger of motion. The world needs his chaos as much as it needs peace, for one cannot exist without the other. As the centuries passed, Ares became more than a god. He became an idea, the shadow in every empire, the spirit behind every army, the echo in every heart that refuses to yield. And now, across time and myth, he stands once more, armor glowing, eyes aflame, the scent of war clinging to him like smoke. The storm of blood gathers around his form as he raises his spear toward the heavens. He does not call for help. He does not pray. He simply roars, and his voice shakes the stars. "Let the thunder answer me," he says. "Let the god of the north hear my challenge." And far beyond the clouds, lightning stirs. The war god waits. The storm god awakens. The battle for the soul of war has begun. Far in the frozen crown of the north, beneath skies carved by thunder, another god awakens. Not from fire, but from storm. Not from rage, but from purpose. His name is Thor, son of Odin, the hammer of the heavens, the shield of mankind. Where Ares burns, Thor rumbles. His strength is not born of fury but of balance, the storm that destroys only what threatens to unmake the world. To the Norse, he was not merely a warrior. He was the protector of all realms. The one who stood between order and chaos, between the fragile and the eternal. The sagas tell of his laughter rolling like thunder across the skies, of his steps shaking mountains. He rides a chariot pulled by twin goats, lightning coursing through their hooves. Clouds gather when his name is spoken. The air itself bends to his will. He is the living bridge between gods and men, the promise that even the divine must fight to preserve creation. Thor's weapon is not just a tool of war. It is a symbol of sacred duty, Mjolnir, the hammer forged in the heart of a dying star. It crushes giants, breaks mountains, and channels storms. Yet it is not destruction that gives it power. It is control. The hammer always returns to his hand, as if the universe itself recognizes the balance he represents. Where Ares fights for ecstasy, Thor fights for necessity. When Ares strikes, the world trembles. When Thor strikes, the world endures. Every blow he lands is an act of preservation, a reminder that chaos must be contained, not celebrated. In the halls of Asgard, Thor is the heart of the divine army. Warriors of Valhalla drink in his name, singing of his strength and courage. Yet even among gods, Thor is humble. He walks among men, shares their food, their fears, their laughter. He is loved not for his power, but for his compassion, for the understanding that power means nothing without responsibility. The giants of Jotunheim call him their doom. The gods call him their bulwark. Mortals call him thunder. But Thor does not fight for titles. He fights for meaning. In one tale, when the world serpent Jormungandr rises from the sea to poison the skies, it is Thor who faces it. The ocean boils beneath his steps. Lightning tears open the clouds. Hammer meets scales, thunder meets venom, and for an instant, the entire world holds its breath. The god of thunder stands firm, not to conquer, but to keep existence itself from collapsing. He knows what Ares does not, that war without purpose is emptiness. That to wield power is to bear its weight. Thor's strength is not an outburst, it is discipline forged through millennia of storms. His fury, when it comes, is not blind. It is measured, guided, righteous. Even among the gods, Thor's humanity sets him apart. He feels joy and sorrow as deeply as any mortal. He grieves for the fallen. He honors courage wherever he finds it, even in his enemies. For him, the battlefield is not a place of glory, but of duty. Each life lost carries meaning, and that meaning must be protected. His eyes are not red with rage, but blue with stormlight, calm before the strike. His voice is the echo of distant thunder, carrying both warning and promise. When he walks, the ground does not burn, it breathes. The world does not fear him, it trusts him. But make no mistake, Thor is no gentle god. When provoked, his wrath can end worlds. He has shattered the skulls of giants, crushed demons beneath his hammer, and split mountains in two. Yet even in destruction, his hand is steady. There is precision in his chaos, the difference between vengeance and justice. The Norse understood this paradox. To them, Thor was not just a destroyer, but the guardian of sacred order. Each bolt of lightning was a heartbeat of the cosmos, each strike a defense against the end. The storm he carried was both curse and salvation. In the end, Thor is the god who bears the unbearable, the constant war to keep creation alive. He stands on the edge of apocalypse, knowing that one day, even gods must fall. Yet he fights anyway, because if he does not, everything else will. Ares fights because he must feel alive. Thor fights because life itself must continue. One sees war as the flame that defines existence. The other sees war as the fire that must never consume it. When Thor looks to the horizon, he does not see conquest. He sees the fragile beauty of the world he swore to protect, mountains, seas, and stars that depend on his will to keep standing. In that stillness before the next storm, lightning dances across his hammer. The air hums with sacred tension. Thunder rolls like a heartbeat across the heavens. If war must come, Thor says, his voice deep as the storm, Then let it serve something greater. And far away, the sound reaches Ares, a call not of challenge, but of inevitability. The storm has awakened, and war is listening. The storm has reached its center. The god of thunder and the god of blood now stand upon the threshold of eternity, weapons drawn, ready to let the heavens themselves decide which form of war will prevail. Between them, the air shimmers, not with hatred, but with purpose. For gods do not fight to survive, they fight to define what survival means. Every myth begins with a weapon. Every god is remembered by what he holds in his hand. For Ares, it is the spear, long, elegant, and cruel. Forged in the fires of Olympus, its edge was said to pierce the will before the flesh. To mortals, it was a symbol of fear. To Ares, it was communion, a bridge between his fury and the world that fed it. He wielded it not as a craftsman but as a force of nature. Each strike was a declaration, each kill an act of worship. His spear glowed not with magic, but with meaning, the essence of blood, the echo of every battle that ever was. Ares' armor was heavy bronze, the color of dusk and dried blood. It bore no inscriptions, no prayers, no blessings. Only scars, dents from blades that dared to reach him, burn marks from wars that could not contain him. His shield, once radiant, now carried the darkness of centuries. To look upon it was to see the faces of the fallen. His power did not come from technique or craft. It came from raw instinct, from the chaos that lives between heartbeat and hesitation. When Ares charged, the world bent to his momentum. When his spear struck the ground, even gods stepped back. He was not precision, he was inevitability. The flame that devours before thought can stop it. But on the other side of the storm stands Thor. And his weapon is not born from fire, but from stars. Mjolnir, the hammer that binds lightning and stone. It was forged by the dwarven smiths Brokkr and Sindri, who captured the power of collapsing suns and folded it into a weapon fit for gods. To hold Mjolnir is to command the balance between creation and destruction, to summon storms or silence them. In Thor's hand, Mjolnir is more than metal. It is justice made tangible. Its head glows with blue fire, its edges crackle with divine electricity. When it falls, mountains tremble. When it rises, the skies open. Unlike Ares' spear, which kills and ends, Mjolnir both destroys and renews. Each strike clears the path for life to begin again. Thor's armor gleams with silver light, crafted from divine steel said to reflect the storms themselves. It is not made to intimidate, it is made to endure. Its surface bears the faint reflection of lightning, and every plate moves like muscle, alive with divine energy. Around his waist, the belt of strength, Megingr, doubles his power, binding his body to the will of the storm. If Ares is fury incarnate, Thor is restraint embodied. The difference between them lies not in strength, but in purpose. Ares moves like wildfire, uncontrollable, beautiful, devastating. Thor moves like thunder, sudden, overwhelming, but always guided. The wind shifts. Sparks dance in the air. The gods circle each other. Their presence divides the battlefield itself. One side burns in red and gold, the other freezes in silver and blue. Between them, the world seems to hold its breath. Ares strikes first. His spear cuts through the storm, a blur of crimson light. Each movement is instinctive, animal, perfect in its simplicity. He is not thinking, he is remembering. Every war, every kill, every scream that ever fed his essence comes alive in his arm. Thor blocks with Mjolnir, the hammer ringing like a bell that echoes across the sky. Sparks fly, not from metal, but from divinity itself. When their weapons meet, creation shudders. Mountains crack. The air splits open. The two forces clash again and again, rhythm like a heartbeat. Spear, hammer, lightning, fire. Every blow is a statement, every deflection a philosophy. Ares embodies speed and chaos, unpredictable, relentless. His attacks are pure momentum, like the will of violence made flesh. Thor answers with timing and precision, the patience of storms that know when to break. The spear lunges, the hammer swings, the earth cries out. The gods move faster than mortals could see, their fight painting streaks of red and blue across the sky. Ares laughs. For him, the battle itself is the meaning. Thor does not laugh. For him, the meaning lies in what survives after the battle ends. Ares lands a strike. The tip of his spear grazes Thor's shoulder. A drop of divine blood falls, sizzling as it touches the ground. The god of thunder does not flinch. Instead, lightning bursts from his hammer, blinding the heavens. The shockwave throws Ares back, his armor scorched with the light of the storm. The world itself seems to split, half burning, half roaring. They pause, both breathing heavy, both unbroken. The silence between strikes is sacred. It is here that the difference between them becomes clear. Ares fights to conquer. Thor fights to protect. One seeks dominance. The other seeks balance. When Ares raises his spear again, his hand trembles, not from fear, but from hunger. He cannot stop. War is not his weapon, it is his blood. Thor raises Mjolnir once more, steady, deliberate, his eyes filled not with wrath but with conviction. He does not fight to win. He fights because someone must. The skies roar in agreement. Lightning flashes, not as judgment, but as truth. This is not your world, Ares. Thor's voice rolls like thunder. War belongs to no god. It belongs to those who survive it. Ares answers with a scream, not of anger, but of defiance. The hammer meets the spear one final time, and for a heartbeat, there is only light. Then silence. Smoke drifts across the ruined field. The ground glows with divine energy. Two figures remain standing, burned, bleeding, and eternal. No god has fallen. But one truth has risen. Power without purpose is destruction. Purpose without power is surrender. And between them, lightning fading into smoke, the weapons of gods cool in the silence of creation. The storm has quieted, but the heavens still tremble. Smoke coils above the ruins of gods. The world below is silent, not in peace, but in awe. The battle is not yet over. It has only changed shape. Ares and Thor stand amid the wreckage of their clash, their weapons dim but still alive with divine heat. Sparks float through the air like dying stars. Every wound glows faintly, not with pain, but with meaning. For gods do not bleed as mortals do. Their blood is truth made visible. Two powers now face each other, not enemies, but reflections. One born of chaos, the other of duty. One the embodiment of desire, the other of discipline. War, looking into its own mirror. Ares speaks first, his voice a deep roar that carries through eternity. You call yourself protector, thunderer, he says. But protection is only the fear of losing. I am the reason you exist. Without chaos, there is nothing to protect. Thor does not answer immediately. He simply looks at Ares, through him even, as lightning flickers faintly across the clouds. And without meaning, Thor replies, there is nothing worth protecting. You destroy because you must feel alive. I destroy so that others can live. The silence that follows feels ancient. Between them, the storm begins to turn in slow circles, as if listening. The comparison begins not with words, but with what remains, the echoes of their essence. Power. Both gods are born from it, but they wield it differently. Ares' strength is raw, consuming, a flame that feeds on itself. His power burns fast and bright, unstoppable until nothing is left. He is the explosion, the first scream of creation. His spear strikes like instinct, unthinking, alive. Thor's strength is enduring, deliberate. It builds, gathers, releases. His power is rhythm, like thunder that strikes and then echoes across the world. He wields Mjolnir not to dominate, but to define. His blows are not fury, they are decisions. Ares' power consumes. Thor's power preserves. In strength alone, they are equals, two sides of the same eternal storm. But strength without balance is only fire, and fire always needs something to burn. Kill. Ares is the master of chaos. He thrives in unpredictability, where control collapses. He fights with instinct sharpened by countless wars, not precision, but perfection through rage. To face Ares is to face inevitability. Thor is mastery born of discipline. His movements are measured, his control absolute. He reads the rhythm of battle like a poem, each swing of Mjolnir placed where it must be, no more, no less. He understands the storm. He does not drown in it. Ares adapts through passion. Thor adapts through purpose. When chaos meets control, it is not about who strikes first, but who endures longest. Ares burns bright and fierce, but Thor outlasts the flame. Philosophy. Here lies their truest divide. To Ares, war is purity. It strips away the illusions of peace and reveals what we truly are: survival, hunger, will. He sees conflict as the heart of existence. Every empire, every civilization, every god, all are born from struggle. He fights because fighting is the closest thing to truth. To Thor, war is burden. It is the weight of responsibility, the fight that must be fought to keep chaos from consuming meaning. For him, to wield power is to bear its consequence. Each battle leaves scars that must be remembered, not celebrated. Ares believes in war for the sake of life. Thor believes in war for the sake of purpose. They are both right. They are both wrong. Morality. Ares is honest about his nature. He never hides the cost of war. He is that cost. He does not pretend to be noble. In his eyes, destruction is not evil. It is necessary. He represents the part of every soul that refuses to surrender, even when surrender would be easier. Thor carries the opposite truth. He fights not to kill, but to preserve. Yet, even he knows that righteousness can become arrogance. His justice can turn to tyranny if left unchecked. For when one believes too deeply in order, one forgets the chaos that gave birth to it. Ares is chaos without conscience. Thor is order without doubt. And somewhere between them lies what mortals call humanity. Wisdom. It is said that gods who learn from war become greater than those who only fight it. Ares learns through pain. Every defeat teaches him endurance. Every scar is a scripture carved into flesh. But he never stops, because he cannot. His wisdom is the wisdom of repetition, to fall, to rise, to fall again. Thor learns through reflection. Every strike is weighed against its consequence. He has seen worlds saved and destroyed by the same hand. His wisdom lies in restraint, the rarest form of power. One god grows through suffering. The other grows through understanding. Both are necessary. The verdict. Lightning flashes one last time, illuminating their faces, both gods marked by the same exhaustion, the same awareness that no victory in war is ever pure. Ares stands, breathing heavily, his armor cracked, his spear trembling. He grins through the blood. "You fight well," he says. "But your mercy will be your undoing." Thor tightens his grip on Mjolnir, his gaze unwavering. "And your rage," he replies softly, "will be yours." Ares lunges forward, one final strike, pure instinct, pure passion. Thor does not retreat. He steps into the strike, meeting it with the hammer's full force. The collision is blinding. For a heartbeat, the world vanishes. When the light fades, Ares is on one knee, his spear broken in half. Thor stands over him, his hammer lowered, lightning fading around him. But he does not finish the strike. He simply looks down, not in triumph, but in understanding. Ares breathes heavily, then laughs, a deep, guttural sound that echoes through the mist. "So this is victory," he says. "Restraint." Thor nods. "It always was." The war god falls silent, his laughter fading into the wind. The storm begins to ease, the thunder rolling into distant memory. No god truly wins a war. But one remembers why it was fought. Ares fades into the smoke, his fire dimmed but not extinguished. For chaos never dies. It only sleeps. Thor watches the horizon as the light returns, the hammer in his hand humming softly, not in glory, but in balance. Above them, the storm clears, and the sky opens once more. In the stillness that follows, a voice, older than both gods, seems to whisper. The blood of war and the thunder of justice are one. Without one, the other forgets its meaning. Ares fought to prove that war defines life. Thor fought to remind that life defines war. And though only one stands, both remain eternal. Because in every strike, every heartbeat, every choice between rage and purpose, war faces itself. The battlefield has fallen silent. No wind. No thunder. No fire. Only the slow breath of gods who have remembered what it means to be mortal. Ares kneels amid the ruins, his spear broken, bronze armor blackened by flame and lightning. Around him, the ground still smokes, the blood of war steaming into the air, returning to the silence that birthed it. Across from him stands Thor, steady, unyielding, Mjolnir lowered to his side, glowing faintly like the last heartbeat of a storm. The world has not chosen a victor. The heavens do not cheer. Even the sky seems uncertain whether to mourn or rejoice. Because when gods fight, victory is not measured in survival, but in understanding. Thor breathes slowly, his voice low, more wind than sound. You fought with all your fire, Ares. But even flame must learn when to rest. Ares lifts his head, eyes burning faintly through the smoke. There is no hatred in them now, only exhaustion and a strange calm. You would call it rest. I would call it death. Thor steps closer, lightning flashing faintly around his shoulders, illuminating the ruin between them. Then perhaps, he says, you have never died in the right way. Ares stares for a moment, and then, slowly, he laughs. It is not mockery. It is recognition. You think yourself the better god because you hold back your fury, he says. But without fury, there would be nothing to hold back. Thor nods. And without restraint, fury would burn everything that gives it meaning. Their words echo into the void, carried on the last whispers of storm and flame. Between them, the cracked earth glows faintly, red on one side, blue on the other. For a brief moment, the two colors touch, blending into gold. It is then that the verdict reveals itself, not from the gods, but from the silence between them. Ares fought for the truth of life, the raw, relentless pulse that refuses to die. His strength was chaos, his will unstoppable, his flame eternal. Yet his flaw is the same as his essence. He cannot stop fighting, even when the war is won. His passion consumes itself. Thor fought for the meaning of life, the order that gives chaos a purpose. His strength was control, his resolve unwavering, his mercy boundless. Yet his flaw, too, is woven into his virtue. In seeking peace, he risks forgetting the fire that keeps it alive. One god burns too brightly. The other risks fading into calm. But in the measure of the eternal, the storm has spoken. Thor stands victorious, not by strength alone, but by endurance, by meaning, by the ability to end the war within himself. He holds the power to strike and the wisdom to stay his hand. And in that choice lies true dominion. The thunder subsides, folding into the wind. The hammer dims. The sky brightens. Thor does not raise his weapon in triumph. He simply looks toward Ares, and with a quiet nod, acknowledges him. You are not my enemy, he says. You are the reason I must exist. And Ares, god of blood and battle, does not answer. He presses a hand to the earth, the same earth that once trembled beneath his rage, and for the first time he feels it breathe. Then fight well, Thunderer, he murmurs. The world still needs its storms. He rises, turns, and walks into the fading mist. The fire follows him, shrinking into ember, until only the echo of his footsteps remains. Thor watches as the light of dawn breaks through the clouds. The storm has passed, yet the air still hums with its memory. Lightning no longer cracks, it whispers. He looks down at Mjolnir, at the reflection of flame still glowing on its surface, and speaks softly, not to Ares, but to the silence itself. Power must never forget why it exists. The clouds open. The world breathes. The gods have spoken, and through them, mankind remembers. Because war is not the enemy of peace. It is its shadow, a necessary ghost. One must exist for the other to mean anything. The thunder that silences blood is not victory. It is acceptance. The acceptance that creation and destruction are two names for the same heartbeat. Ares and Thor, chaos and order, now dwell in the same sky. One roars. The other listens. And together, they remind the universe that balance is never given. It is fought for, again and again. The battlefield fades into legend. The gods fade into myth. But their echo, their war, their lesson, remains. Every storm ends, the narrator whispers, but every silence remembers the thunder. The screen darkens, the sound of distant thunder still rolling beyond the clouds. Who, then, defines the spirit of war? The voice asks. The god who conquers, or the god who protects? If this story stirred the storm within you, if the clash of fire and thunder still echoes in your thoughts, let it live a little longer. Like this video, share your verdict in the comments, and subscribe to Myths Compared. Because in every myth, the gods still fight, not for power, but for meaning.